African empires they don't teach in school. Beneath the surface of the history books lies a hidden world of forgotten African empires, their grandeur erased by time and conquest. Imagine towering obelisks, bustling trade routes filled with gold and silk, and kings whose influence stretched across seas. From the lost city of Axum to the wealth of Mali, these civilizations were once the heart of commerce, culture, and knowledge. In this untold story, you'll discover the legacies of these powerful kingdoms and explore a history that the world has overlooked, one of untold wonders, brilliance, and awe-inspiring achievements. Ready to dive in? Chapter 1. The Lost Cities of Axum. History is often written by the victors, and as a result, many great civilizations have been buried under layers of time, their grandeur forgotten. But imagine a land where vast stone obelisks reached for the sky, where merchants traded gold, ivory, and silk with distant lands, and where a powerful king once ruled an empire stretching across seas. This is not a fantasy. This is Axum, one of Africa's greatest yet least known empires. Long before the rise of European and Middle Eastern trading giants, Axum was a powerhouse of commerce and culture. Located in what is now Ethiopia and Eritrea, this civilization flourished for centuries. Historians estimate that Axum began its ascent around the 1st century, eventually becoming one of the most influential empires of its time. At its peak, it controlled trade routes that connected Africa, the Middle East, and even Asia. Gold, spices, and precious stones traveled through its markets, enriching a city that stood proudly among the world's most advanced civilizations. But how did Axum rise to such prominence? One key factor was its mastery of the Red Sea. While the Romans were expanding their empire across Europe, the Axumites were building a formidable naval presence. They established trade with Arabia, India, and even China. Ancient records from the Greek historian Cosmas Indicopleustes describe Axumite merchants selling African goods as far as the Indian subcontinent. Axum was not only a commercial hub but also an architectural wonder. Its towering obelisks, some reaching over 70 feet in height, still stand today. These monolithic structures, carved from single blocks of granite, served as markers of royal tombs. One of the most famous is the obelisk of Axum, which was taken to Italy during World War II and later returned to Ethiopia in a historic gesture of restitution. One of Axum's most fascinating aspects was its early adoption of Christianity. In the 4th century, King Ezana converted to Christianity, making Axum one of the first states in the world to embrace the religion officially. This happened nearly a century before the Roman Empire declared Christianity its official faith. Today, Ethiopian Orthodox traditions still trace their roots to this ancient kingdom. Yet, despite its grandeur, Axum eventually declined. Climate change, resource depletion, and shifting trade routes weakened the empire, and by the early Middle Ages, it had faded from the global stage. But its legacy remains, not just in historical records but in the cultural and religious traditions of modern Ethiopia. Chapter 2. The Golden Age of Mali. In the heart of West Africa, an empire of unimaginable wealth and power once flourished. This was the Mali Empire, a land of vast riches, where gold was so abundant it was said to flow like rivers. It was a place of opulence and grandeur, where palaces and mosques stood as symbols of prosperity, and where the world's richest man once reigned. The tale of Mali's splendor is not just about its wealth but also its profound contributions to wisdom, education, and culture, which continue to resonate today. Mali's rise began in the early 13th century, but it was during the reign of Mansa Musa in the 14th century that the empire reached its peak. Mansa Musa, whose name remains etched in history as the wealthiest individual ever to live, was a ruler of unparalleled generosity and ambition. His legendary pilgrimage to Mecca in the year 1324 became one of the most iconic events in history. As he traveled with a vast entourage, including hundreds of soldiers, servants, and camels laden with gold, Mansa Musa stopped in Cairo, where he distributed so much gold to the poor that the local economy was shaken for years, causing a significant devaluation of the precious metal. Yet, Mali's greatness extended far beyond the material wealth that Mansa Musa displayed. The empire was also a hub of intellectual and cultural development. At the heart of Mali's thriving educational scene was the legendary city of Timbuktu, home to the renowned Sankore University and its vast library. These institutions of learning rivaled the great centers of scholarship in Europe and the Middle East. Timbuktu became a beacon of knowledge, attracting scholars from all corners of the African continent and beyond. They studied diverse subjects, including astronomy, mathematics, medicine, and philosophy, and their work would leave a lasting imprint on future generations of scholars. Timbuktu's library housed thousands of manuscripts, some of which are still preserved today, offering a glimpse into a time when Africa was at the forefront of global intellectual pursuits. The city was a crossroads for the exchange of ideas, trade, and culture, and its influence on the development of Islamic learning, in particular, cannot be overstated. It was a place where African scholars made significant contributions to the fields of science and medicine, challenging the idea that Europe was the only center of learning during the medieval period. However, like many great empires, Mali's decline was the result of a combination of internal strife and external pressures. Invasions by foreign forces, coupled with internal rebellions and a weakening of central authority, slowly eroded the empire's power. Despite its fall, Mali's legacy endures, living on in the cultures, languages, and traditions of modern West Africa. The echoes of its golden age can still be felt in the region's art, literature, and educational pursuits, reminding us of a time when Africa stood as a shining beacon of wealth, wisdom, and culture. Chapter 3. The Might of Songhai. When the mighty Mali Empire began to crumble under internal strife and external pressure, a new force emerged from its ashes, the Songhai Empire. In the 15th century, Songhai, under the rule of the ambitious and brilliant leader Askia the Great, soared to unprecedented heights. Askia, though not born of royal blood, seized power in a daring coup. His rise to the throne was a testament to his military prowess and determination to forge his own destiny. Despite his humble beginnings, he became one of the most influential rulers in West African history, leading Songhai to its peak of power. Askia expanded the Songhai Empire through a combination of brilliant military strategies and diplomatic savvy. His armies, fiercely disciplined and well-organized, were a formidable force across the West African savannas. Under his leadership, Songhai expanded its borders to encompass vast regions, including the rich trading cities of Timbuktu, Gao, and Djenne. To manage such a sprawling empire, Askia established a sophisticated bureaucracy. He divided the empire into provinces, each governed by officials who reported directly to him, ensuring that the vast lands were well managed and that resources flowed smoothly. This strategic governance was key to Songhai's economic prosperity, as trade routes were secured and agriculture flourished. Under Askia the Great, education and scholarship reached unprecedented levels. Timbuktu, already a renowned city of knowledge, became the intellectual hub of the Islamic world. Scholars and thinkers from across Africa and the broader Islamic Empire flocked to the city, where they engaged in groundbreaking research and wrote extensively on science, mathematics, law, and philosophy. The University of Sankore, located in Timbuktu, became one of the most prestigious educational institutions of its time. Students studied everything from astronomy to theology, and the city's libraries held thousands of manuscripts, many of which would become priceless treasures. Askia himself was a patron of scholars, fostering an environment where learning was celebrated. Despite its remarkable achievements, the Songhai Empire could not withstand the tides of history. In the late 16th century, a powerful Moroccan army, armed with advanced gunpowder weapons, invaded Songhai. The Songhai forces, though brave and numerous, were unable to match the firepower of the invaders. The Battle of Tondibi in 1593 marked the turning point, as Moroccan forces defeated the Songhai army, leading to the collapse of the empire. This marked the end of West Africa's last great empire, and the region would never again see an empire of such scale and influence. The fall of Songhai was not just the end of an empire, but the end of an era. The Songhai Empire's legacy, however, endures in the rich cultural, intellectual, and political contributions it made to the world. The grandeur of its cities, the brilliance of its scholars, and the power of its military remain etched in the history of Africa, a reminder of the might and ingenuity that once defined the heart of the continent. Chapter 4: The Mystery of Great Zimbabwe. Deep in the heart of southern Africa lies one of the continent's most captivating and mysterious sights, the stone city of Great Zimbabwe. This ancient city, whose name means Great House of Stone in the Shona language, is one of Africa's most significant historical wonders. Unlike the well-known stories of Mali or Axum, the history of Great Zimbabwe remains largely obscured by myths and distorted colonial narratives. Its ruins, carved from granite with intricate precision, have long sparked curiosity and awe, yet many aspects of its rise and fall are still shrouded in mystery. Great Zimbabwe flourished from the 11th to the 15th century, serving as the capital of a powerful kingdom that controlled vast trade routes stretching all the way to the Indian Ocean. The city's architectural marvels, massive stone walls, towering enclosures, and beautifully crafted structures, are a testament to the advanced engineering skills of its builders. Remarkably, these buildings were constructed without the use of mortar, relying instead on the perfect fit of stones, a technique that has allowed the city to stand the test of time. The Great Enclosure, the largest and most impressive structure in the city, is still an awe-inspiring sight, with walls that rise over 30 feet high, enveloping the remains of what was once a royal palace. Great Zimbabwe's economy thrived on the trade of gold, ivory, and other precious goods. The city's position in the heart of the region's trade network made it a bustling marketplace, drawing merchants from distant lands. Its connection with the Swahili coast, as well as far-reaching trading partners in China, Persia, and Arabia, allowed the kingdom to flourish. Archaeologists have uncovered artifacts from these distant lands, including exquisite Chinese porcelain and Arabian glassware, proving that Great Zimbabwe was part of a vast and intricate global trade system. It was a center of commerce and culture, facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas, and traditions across continents. For centuries, European explorers and scholars struggled to accept the idea that African civilizations were capable of creating such an advanced city. Some even suggested that Great Zimbabwe was the work of ancient Phoenicians or other foreign civilizations, unable to fathom that the region's indigenous people, the Shona, could have built it. It wasn't until the 20th century that historians and archaeologists, building on local oral traditions and careful excavation, confirmed what had always been known to the people of Zimbabwe. Great Zimbabwe was constructed by their ancestors, the Shona. This revelation was a powerful affirmation of African ingenuity and cultural heritage, challenging the Eurocentric narratives that had long dismissed the achievements of African civilizations. Though Great Zimbabwe eventually declined, likely due to factors such as overpopulation, resource depletion, and shifts in trade patterns, it remains a symbol of African heritage and achievement. The city's towering stone walls and majestic ruins continue to captivate the imagination, reminding us of a once great empire that shaped the history of Africa and the world. Today, Great Zimbabwe stands as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, not only for its architectural grandeur but also for its role in preserving the rich history and traditions of the African continent. Chapter 5: The Legacy of African Empires. The history of Africa's great empires is not just a tale of kings and conquests but of innovation, trade, and cultural richness. From the towering obelisks of Axum to the golden riches of Mali, from the scholarly halls of Timbuktu to the stone marvels of Great Zimbabwe, these civilizations shaped the world in ways often overlooked. The Kingdom of Axum, with its monumental obelisks, was a marvel of engineering and design, standing as a testament to the power of a society that could harness stone, wealth, and religion to create enduring monuments. The Axumites were among the first to adopt Christianity in the 4th century, centuries before many European nations, establishing a deep spiritual and cultural connection with the Mediterranean world. In the heart of West Africa, the Mali Empire stood as a beacon of wealth and scholarship. The reign of Mansa Musa, who ascended the throne in the 14th century, remains one of the most awe-inspiring chapters of African history. His legendary pilgrimage to Mecca in the year 1324 left an indelible mark on the world. During his journey, Mansa Musa distributed so much gold that he caused inflation in regions he passed through, a display of the empire's immense wealth. Yet, Mali's greatness was not only defined by gold but also by its intellectual and cultural advancements. Timbuktu, a thriving center of learning and trade, housed universities, libraries, and scholars who contributed to the advancement of mathematics, astronomy, and philosophy, rivaling the intellectual hubs of Europe and Asia. Far to the south, the Kingdom of Zimbabwe built one of the most impressive architectural legacies in sub-Saharan Africa, Great Zimbabwe. This ancient city, constructed between the 11th and 15th centuries, was a masterpiece of stone architecture, without the use of mortar. The Great Enclosure, a massive circular wall, stands as a testament to the kingdom's advanced engineering and organizational skills. Zimbabwe was a center for trade, with its merchants exchanging gold, ivory, and other treasures across the Indian Ocean and to the distant lands of China and Arabia. The city's intricate stonework and its role as a regional power left a lasting legacy that would influence the development of other African civilizations. As history is rewritten and more stories come to light, one truth remains undeniable. Africa has always been a land of great empires, brilliant minds, and untold wonders. From the kingdoms of Nubia, whose armies were as formidable as those of Rome, to the maritime prowess of the Swahili coast, Africa's empires have influenced the course of world history in profound ways. The rise and fall of these civilizations were often shaped by forces such as trade, innovation, and diplomacy, rather than by sheer military might alone. Perhaps it is time the world remembered them, not as forgotten kingdoms but as active participants in the global exchange of culture, ideas, and wealth. The rich legacy of Africa's empires reminds us that history, in its fullness, is yet to be fully understood and celebrated. And that's it, thanks for watching. If you enjoy exploring historical worlds, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on more exciting stories.